Namaskar, Nileshok. And in this series, a short series, mini series, hopefully, I am going to explain what is the precession of the Earth's axis, also known as precession of equinoxes, the moment motion of the equinoxes, or the moment motion of the Earth's axis, and its consequences. Specifically, we would like to discuss, and I would therefore discuss, 4 specific consequences that are very much relevant to the antiquity research that I have carried out for more than 30 years. It's very much important to understand if anyone is interested in comprehending the astronomy evidence from entire ancient Indian narratives series, right from Rigveda all the way to wherever, as long as there is a astronomy description in the Indian text, in any context, down to our times, frankly. If you want to understand the relevance of it and then make use of that evidence for dating that specific event, either a very specific day, specific month, specific year, sometime all we can get is only a time interval. That depends on the quality of evidence, that depends on corroborative nature of additional evidence that can allow us to feel confident about our prediction. All right, so let's get into it. The precession of the Earth's axis and its effects on visual astronomy, which also means what is, of course, seen in the sky at any given time, and that what is seen in the sky can be used as a timestamp to provide the context of time to that specific historical event. Now, visual astronomy, we should also think in terms of our Indian Panchanga, okay? Because that information can also change, actually does change depending on what particular epoch of time that we are looking at from an astronomy point of view. So let's get into this. This is part 1, and hopefully I can do this. I hope that I can do this in like 2 parts, but who knows? It may take up to 4 parts. We will see. Okay. All right. Now, the reason I selected this, I have talked a lot about this. In fact, I have used this basis as a foundation, as a evidence everywhere. Practically all the work that I have done in last 30 plus years. If one looks at it like my point of view, I think understanding the precession of the Earth's axis, precession of the equinoxes is very easy, as easy as 1, 2, 3. But what I think is not that important or has no relevance if good number of people struggle to understand this otherwise extremely elegant, simple phenomenon. Part of it might have to do with no familiarity whatsoever with astronomy, with the motions of the planets, sun, moon, other planets, relative motions of the sun or moon as seen from the earth, okay, and so on. It might have something to do with just the, I call a priori phobia, okay? Some people just simply think, oh, this astronomy must be tough, okay? And I would say academics have done a great job of creating that impression with, I'm saying majority of the academics, not all, there are wonderful exceptions, but majority are a good number of, let's not say majority, good number of academics have made this subject unnecessarily complicated. This is not to say that the subject is easy, because let me say this, I always thought if I can understand something, others can understand it, okay? Partly because I think, and this is not I'm saying this in any modest fashion, that I'm a slow learner, okay? Slow learner at practically anything. In fact, my mother tells me even the simple act of talking, okay, speaking, I was late when I started speaking. And then jokingly she adds, then I never stopped because I'm a talkative person. Anyways, back to this. I think it's very simple to understand it, but over the years, I have realized that that's not the case when I interact with many individuals, including many of, at least some of my co-researchers who are not necessarily working in the area of astronomy. And there is enough evidence to support this position that people find it's not easy to understand. But this is, you can think of this as another attempt, or at least attempt by me to make this easier. And you have to tell me in the comments what you think of it. The evidence I'm talking, why people may think this is difficult, is if you go to YouTube, you will find hundreds and thousands of videos trying to explain this precession of the Earth's axis in all kinds of ways, okay? And many people writing in the comments that, hey, now I understood, okay? And I hope they understood, because I find people making a lot of confusion with this. My trolls are no exception. They have made a royal mess out of this, okay? But we'll come to that at some point, but not as part of this mini series. What I did, I went to YouTube, typed tropical versus sidereal calendar, or I forgot what I did. I didn't type zodiac. I think I typed tropical versus sidereal, something like this. And the very first link that I found, a decent link, I would say, I don't remember which link I picked up, is here. And I'm just showing this as an example. You can go and look at this link or thousands of other YouTube videos explaining the precession of the Earth's axis. Whatever works for you. If you are interested in this subject, then it is important on your part that you do whatever it takes to understand the fundamentals in the right way, not the way my trolls have understood, or rather misunderstood. Now, I liked the title here, the tropical versus sidereal, and I thought this is a good way to introduce this subject. If we look at astronomy, and specifically Indian astronomy and Indian luni-solar calendar, you can first think in terms of a tropical calendar. And I'm going to explain this to you and show it through simulations. Okay, so tropical calendar, which is what? If you have to translate that, it will be called a Rutu Chakra calendar, or Rutu Chakra Panchang. Now, what is a sidereal calendar? Sidereal calendar, we can translate this sidereal in the sense of a star, and we can translate this as nakshatra chakra calendar, nakshatra chakra panchang. Now, while we say this tropical versus sidereal, in reality, what you are going to find out, you're going to realize that these are not two independent calendars or panchang. In fact, we begin with the tropical calendar, the Rutu Chakra Panchang, and then we superimpose the nakshatra reference frame on top of it. Okay, the so-called sidereal Panchang, nakshatra chakra Panchang, sidereal calendar on top of it. And a combined calendar, actually, that is what the beauty of Indian lunisolar calendar is. No other world calendar has this combination of lunisolar calendar that is exhibited in the Indian calendar. In fact, Indian calendar takes into account these together. Now, it has its pluses and minuses. The minuses is that it makes it a bit complicated to understand. but it also has its pluses. Therefore, and only therefore, we can look at ancient texts such as Mahabharata, look at all the astronomy evidence, put it together like a jigsaw puzzle, crossword puzzle together, and point to 5561 BC as the year of Mahabharata war. Is it just a one random coincidence? No, we can go to Ramayana, another epic. And I wish we had more epics. Well, the only two epics have survived. And of course, they have to have relevant astronomy evidence. But this is true for Ramayana also. If you look at Ramayana, close to 600 astronomy references. If you pull them, put them in a logical fashion, as if trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, crossword puzzle, they point you to one specific year, 12,209 BCE, about 14,000 years ago, for the time of Ram-Ravan Yuddha. This has become possible because of the Indian luni-solar calendar. That would not have been possible if, just hypothetically speaking, if Valmiki was using Gregorian calendar or Bhagwan Vyasadeva was using Gregorian calendar, okay? Or Islamic calendar, which is purely lunar calendar, okay? This has become possible only because Indian astronomers, Indian sages, Indian rishis, in their great wisdom, decided to create and then employ this very precise, very accurate lunisolar calendar, which is a combination of tropical and sidereal. Now, I don't want you to confuse tropical and sidereal is somehow in parallel with sun and moon. No, that's not the case. Okay, that is absolutely not the case. But we will see what the difference is. So with this, let's begin with the tropical calendar. Now, this is a frequently asked, it's not a frequently asked question. It's a frequently made comment. So what would that be? FMC. Okay, we have a new term there, guys. Okay, I can take the copyright for that. Frequently made comment, FMC. Anywhere I go, anywhere I'm giving lectures. In fact, it happens all the time. It happened very recently, like last weekend when I was giving my first lecture in a series on Viveke Shodhile Paise to BMM, Brihan Maharashtra Mandal, North America. And a very curious gentleman during the question answer session made this FMC, frequently made comment. He said, well, Nilashji, I have some comment question to ask. But before that, just to give you a background, like everyone knows, we know that the seasons are purely driven by the moon position. Okay, and then I'll not tell you the details. It was a very light, simple conversation. But when I started responding, I said, well, let me correct some of the things before I get to answering your question, that the Rutu Chakra, okay, the creation of seasons, occurrence of seasons, the cause, the Karya Karana Bhav behind the season has everything to do with the sun, has everything to do with the position of the sun, has everything to do with the relative position of the sun with respect to the earth, specifically the specific hemisphere of the earth, the northern hemisphere versus southern hemisphere. We are going to only look at the northern hemisphere because that's where India is, that's where India was. And therefore, when Indian sages embedded the astronomy, science, astronomy nimitta, okay, astronomy happenings in the sky, and they embedded that in writing their itihasa. If we have to make sense of it, we have to understand what is happening in the northern hemisphere, or understand astronomy from the point of view of a northern hemisphere. The situation in the southern hemisphere will be exactly opposite, but we will not get into that. You can take this as a homework. The key point I want to emphasize, the creation, occurrence of the seasons has everything to do with the sun, the relative position of the sun with respect to the earth, and specifically with respect to where you are, northern hemisphere for our purposes, and has absolutely nothing, nada, to do with the position, the movement, the phase of the moon? None. Is this clear? Because this is very important if you want to understand, go further and understand especially the consequences of this precession of the Earth's axis for the context of understanding the astronomy evidence presented within the pages of ancient Indian narratives, right from Rigveda all the way to our times, but especially everything in between, such as Brahmanas and Upanishad and Aranyakas and Dharmashastras, okay, Kalpasutras, okay, all other kinds of sutra literature, everything. And of course, Itihasa, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Purana literature, everywhere. Seasons are determined by the sun, the relative position of the sun with respect to the earth, with respect to the inclination of the earth, and has absolutely nothing to do with the position, the movement, the phase of the moon. If that's clear, I think we are done on the tropical calendar. And then, as I said, the sidereal calendar is not some stand-alone calendar, but actually it is the superimposition of the nakshatra reference frame on top of the tropical calendar. Now, once we superimpose the nakshatra reference frame, then we need to understand something about that nakshatra reference frame and how it changes, how it shifts with respect to the tropical calendar, okay? And we will see what are the key features, salient features of tropical calendar, attributes of tropical calendar, what are the attributes of the nakshatra reference frame, and what changes. And then in the next part, hopefully only the second part, if not additional 2-3 parts, we will look at the consequences of this precession of the Earth's axis. Guys, this is what I'm giving you here is a $1 million stuff, okay? Multi-million-dollar stuff, no kidding. If you understand this, if you understand this and then the 4 consequences, frankly, you know what? If you truly understand it, you are, I would say, into what? 80 percentile, like top 20% of the experts in visual astronomy. Now, that may sound like a tall claim, but if you truly understand it and then you start researching it, okay, around the world, not just limited to the Indian Itihasa. Around the world, if you are lucky, and you can be lucky in some instances, you will find astronomy descriptions embedded into their narratives, sometimes narratives in the form of statues and something embedded into the statues, sometimes, of course, in the script and so on. So wherever you are, whatever is your interest, if you understand this and if you apply it, multiple things will happen. First thing, if you have made a lot of mistakes in applying this astronomy in the sense of archaeoastronomy to the world monuments, this is your chance to eliminate those errors. It will also allow you to analyze work such as mine, analyze work of my trolls, but also analyze the work of many great individuals, okay? In the Indian context, archaeoastronomy began in India, okay? It flourished in India, and right now it is flourishing in India. But there are folks, who really struggle, but, again, you can ignore them. I also try my best to ignore them. They struggle, but they don't think they are struggling. So they create, absolutely entertaining, absolutely humorous stuff, and that we will discuss. But in order for you to comprehend, okay, where they go wrong, why they go wrong, okay, and also to appreciate the beauty of my works, but the beauty of works that are being done by likes of Dr. P.V. Vartak, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, one of the greatest, if not the great, at least in my mind, the greatest astronomer, Shankar Balakrishna Dikshit, V.B. Ketkar, and there were many others. Okay, you can do that in modern times, likes of Dr. Anil Narayanan, or many of you are familiar, at least those who listen to my videos, great Rupa Bhatti. Okay, a young researcher, Jeevan Rao, and then there are many others. I'm confident with time, many of them will come out in limelight, I would say, because right now they are doing the research work, but many, for various reasons, don't come out in the open. Anyways, so again, the sidereal calendar is basically the nakshatra reference system. It is superimposed on the tropical calendar. And when that is done, now we can start making use of the moon, the position of the moon, the phase of the moon, the position of the full moon, okay, at any specific point to designate a lunar month, okay, Chandramas or Saumyamas, in deciding which lunar month corresponds with a particular season. And once you understand that, and once you start understanding the precession, then you'll see why the Indian lunar month, Chandramas, Saumyamas, they shift with respect to the season. This is one of the 4 consequences of the precession of the Earth's axis. There are 3 additional ones. Actually, all 4 of them are precious. Okay, it's very important that you understand them. All right, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take you to simulation. All right, we are here. What do we have? We have Earth at the center, and the blue circle, okay, here is the ecliptic, the path of the sun as seen from the Earth. So Earth at the center and sun is going around the Earth. Okay, that's our foundation for astronomy. Okay, Indian astronomy, luni-solar astronomy. Now somebody says, oh, but I heard somewhere that actually it is the Earth that's going around the sun. Yeah, what you heard is correct. But if you don't understand what I just said before that, then you are not qualified. You do not have sufficient knowledge to understand this video. You may stop it, go back, clarify your doubts. And if you think you now have clarified your understanding for Indian astronomy, you may come back here. So Earth at the center, it's inclined at an angle. For our simple purposes, we will take it as 24 degree. In reality, we know that it goes like this from 22.5 to 24.5, not relevant for this discussion right now. So Earth is inclined at an angle. And so now notice when the sun, actually, let me add sun here. When the sun goes to the point of this summer solstice, by the way, those are the 4 cardinal points in a tropical calendar. Okay, here. So what does that mean? The northern hemisphere, you can see India right here. Okay, the northern hemisphere experiences direct rays of the sun, and therefore it is the peak of summer, you can say. Okay, the summer solstice. Okay, remember that's because of the inclination of the Earth from the northern hemisphere perspective. In a simple language, we can say closer to the sun. Okay, it's not exactly closer, you know, the direct rays are coming there, but for practical language, simple language, we can say closer to the sun. Therefore it is a summer there. Okay, and we can continue. The whole year of 365 days is divided into 4 parts, more or less equal, 90 degrees. Okay, so now we are here at the autumnal equinox, Sharada Sampat, fall equinox, and for practical purposes, you can say the days and nights are of the same length. All right, let's go to the winter solstice. And what does it tells us? This is the day when you can say that the Earth's inclination is for the northern hemisphere as if it's away from the sun. Okay, so the sun's rays are not that harsh or not directly coming to that northern hemisphere. They are coming at an angle. Okay, and so sort of a cooler side of the things, and this is winter. The days are shorter, nights are longer. Okay, and then we can complete the whole circle. Okay, and stop at the point of vernal equinox. Okay, so here. So sun starting from the point of vernal equinox, making a complete circle and coming back to the point of vernal equinox is the tropical year. Okay, and the 4 points that you are saying separated by 90 degrees to each other are the 4 cardinal points. VE, vernal equinox, also known as spring equinox or Vasanta Sampat. Summer solstice, Dakshinayana Bindu. Autumnal equinox, also known as fall equinox, also called Sharada Sampat. Okay, and then winter solstice. Okay, Uttarayana Bindu, not to be confused with 14th of January. It's very important when you are studying a technical subject not to confuse this, or a historical accuracy, not to confuse with our cultural celebrations, whether it is Ram killing Ravana. As a culturally, we celebrate on a Dashahara day, Vijayadashmi day, but in reality, that's not the case. Reality, historically speaking, the accurate information we have is that based on Valmiki Ramayana evidence and use of this astronomy, is that Ram killed Ravan on Chaitra Amavasya on the last day of Chaitra. Okay, then we celebrate Rama's arrival in Ayodhya on a Deepavali day. That's again a cultural celebration, perfectly fine. Historically speaking, though, Ram arrived in Ayodhya on Vaishak Shukla Shashti, and a nakshatra was a Pushya. Okay, so on. Similarly, we celebrate Makar Sankranti and we call it Uttarayan, and it's celebrated on 14 January because that was the case like 1800, 2000 years ago. But today, the Uttarayan, from a technical astronomy speak, happens on 21st of December. In fact, I'm going to use 21st, 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 21st March, 21st June, 21st September, 21st December for the sake of simplicity. Okay. Now, let me superimpose the Gregorian calendar on this. Okay. Now you can start relating to that 21st. So March 21st, this is where March begins, and March 21st is when we have a vernal equinox. Okay, this year, 2023, and let me make it 2023. In fact, notice something. It didn't matter, okay? Right now it's saying 12,240 BCE, the year when Bhagwan Ram was born, okay? It doesn't tell us anything, okay? That is the beauty of a tropical calendar. It is removed from the background nakshatra system. What Gregorian calendar or any tropical calendar, which is purely solar calendar, does is it makes sure that it matches the points of these 4 cardinal points: vernal equinox, autumnal equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice, to the perfect same days in the calendar. And that is therefore going to be solar calendar. That's what Gregorian calendar is. Okay, Gregorian calendar does not need the reference of nakshatra system or the zodiac system. You see, that's why it is not shown here. We will not discuss today, but if you look at the Islamic calendar, which is purely lunar calendar, okay, we don't need the, again, reference of nakshatra system. And of course, we need a reference of a sun, but only to count the 12 rotations of the moon from Amavasya to Amavasya, Amavasya to Amavasya, 12 times. And that makes it a Islamic year, Hijri year, okay? That's why only we need sun just as a reference, because the phase of the moon is always due to the position of the sun or relative position of the sun. Otherwise, I can just remove this and let the moon rotate. In fact, it doesn't need those cardinal points. They have no significance. The moon's position, moon's movement has no significance for cardinal points, has no connection with the seasons. Okay, it can just go on and on. And this by itself will not even create an Islamic calendar. If you want to create that, then we need to add the sun, because right from one starting point, whatever that is, Amavasya, the Islamic calendar counts 12 rotations from Amavasya to Amavasya of the moon, and Islamic year is over. That is that month of Ramadan and so on. Okay. It doesn't look at the sun's position. Again, it doesn't care for the nakshatras. Okay. It's simply 12 rotations of the moon from Amavasya to Amavasya. And Amavasya is a phase, and just only for that purpose, we need the presence of a sun. That's the Islamic calendar. Now, let me stop this. Let me reset. And for the Gregorian calendar, we don't need the moon, frankly. Okay. And all we need is to ensure that the calendar always matches those 4 cardinal points for the specific days of the year: 21, 21, 21, 21, March, June, September, December. That's it. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this calendar? Okay, I'm going to remove the Gregorian calendar as a superimposition. But you know what? Wherever it is, I'm going to actually walk you through 26,000 years of the precession of the Earth's axis, while showing you only the tropical calendar. And look what happens. Okay, and I can actually speed this up, and it doesn't matter. You are actually seeing no difference, no change whatsoever. Absolutely no change. Okay, now, of course, I can make the sun move. I can do that. But guess what? Actually, it has no relevance whatsoever with what's happening in the background. Because the precession of the Earth's axis, it is happening. But if we are not going to measure it in the context of the background reference frame of nakshatras, to people on the Earth, as if like nothing changed. Life is as usual, no change. Okay. I'm going to stop this, not to confuse you. So actually, when I did this, and I can do this again, actually, I showed the precession of the Earth's axis through 26,000 year cycle. But right here, you are seeing no difference other than the this clock of the year. The time is just going through 26,000 years. That is because I am not showing you the nakshatra reference frame. That's that sidereal part, okay, that when we superimpose, then only we can start understanding the precession of the Earth's axis. Okay, even if it's happening for practical purposes, if we refuse to look at the stars, only focus on the moon and the sun, moon for the Islamic calendar, or only sun for the Gregorian, the Christian calendar, so-called Christian calendar, they could only do it after they became aware of the precise and sophisticated Indian astronomy. Until then, they were in amazing darkness. Okay, I mean, that's like history's big, thick history books can be written on that. Not a subject today. Okay, that's tropical calendar. Now what we are going to do is we are going to add the seasons. Again, this is still tropical calendar because we haven't brought the nakshatra reference frame. Now what happens is we can start understanding. Let me make this slower. That doesn't matter. I have to make this slow. Okay. Let's start here. And what we can do is, okay, in the tropical calendar, which is purely solar calendar, the day of vernal equinox, spring equinox, Vasanta Sampat, is the first day of the tropical solar year. It is also the middle point of Vasanta Rutu, or spring season. When that is over, it is going to get into the Grishma season. 12 months, 12 solar months, okay? And total year length is 365, which means what? Some solar months would be of 30 days, others would be of 29 days, others would be of 31 days, 32 days, and so on. Those would be true solar months. They are not followed in the Gregorian calendar. a calendar, a Indian luni-solar calendar based on the true length of the solar months, true names of the solar months as available in ancient Indian narratives, okay, is been created by me with great assistance from one of the oldest, if not the oldest living tradition of Panchanga makers in India, Date Panchang. And that Panchang is update for every day is available with Mahabharat Samvat added to it on Twitter, updated every day 5:30 a.m. India time in the morning. Okay, you can go and if you're interested, start following at Date Panchang, like a date, D-A-T-E Panchang, at D-A-T-E Panchang, one word. And you can follow that, subscribe it, whatever the word is, and look at that. But that has been lost, especially, I don't know exactly when it was lost, but very likely when the Western calendar became the colonial master's calendar, and Indian solar calendar sort of fell through. So 2 months of Grishma season. And so what does that mean? The summer solstice is signify the end of Grishma Rutu or end of summer and beginning of Varsha Rutu or beginning of rainy season. Now that's going to go for 2 months. Okay. When that is over, we will have Sharad season. And the point of autumnal equinox, Sharad Sampat, fall equinox, designates the middle point of Sharad Rutu. Okay, that's the pre-autumn season. And after 1 more month, it's the beginning of a Hemanta Rutu or the autumn season, autumn. And winter solstice, 21st of December in our times, okay, signify the end of Hemanta, end of autumn, and beginning of Shishira or winter season. Okay, it will go on for 2 months. Then it will enter the first month of Vasanta, which is a spring season. And a tropical year would be complete with sun coming back to its position of vernal equinox. Okay. That's tropical calendar. Now let's add the sidereal aspect, the nakshatra frame. Okay, of 27 nakshatra, there are 28 nakshatra also, but we'll stick with 27. Again, if just addition of this nakshatra, like, confuses you, so my God, where did this come from and what do they mean? You are not qualified to listen to this video. Well, what you have to do is go and watch my other videos, such as Introduction to Indian Calendar. I created many modules on Indian calendar, or go anywhere, YouTube, books, whatever it takes to understand what these nakshatras are. And if you are going to research, not only just research, if you truly want to understand and keep yourself away from folks with a half-baked knowledge who are creating utter nonsense, then not only you just need to say, okay, I understand this. No, actually become familiar with all the 27 names of the nakshatra, their yoga taras, their sequence. Not just familiar, you should be able to close your eyes and able to recite all these nakshatra and able to visualize their yoga tara in the sky. With respect to the ecliptic, that blue line, whether they are above, which is to say to the north of the ecliptic or south of the ecliptic, is this just one yoga tara is an individual star or a group of stars, like Kritika, for example, okay, or Shatataraka, or Hasta, and so on. Or these are individual stars like Spika, like Chitra, okay, or Rohini, and so on. All right. So now we got this nakshatra space. Now, the rutus are kind of sometimes difficult to see. So what I'm going to do is, now everyone understands this inclination business. I'm going to change the axis. So now it looks like as if the earth is not inclined. Well, actually it is, because what I've done is I made the earth straight, but the ecliptic is now inclined, which is say the same thing. That's what we call the relative positions. Okay. Still the inclination is there, but it's easy to read. All right. Now, for a minute, if I, let's say, now that I showed you the nakshatra, I'll take away the nakshatra and just imagine if it was, say today, like so 2023, okay? And I can even add moon and let them go here, okay? So, yeah, what do you see? Sun goes through its ecliptic path, okay? When it comes back to the point of vernal equinox, it's a end of a tropical year, new tropical year begins, okay? And the moon can rotate, but if we are not going to use the background nakshatra reference frame, then there is not much we can do. Possibly we can count approximately where the moon is, but you know what? In order to know the season, which season we are in, we don't need moon, okay? If we know the position of the sun as it rises in the east, but remember, it changes every day. Only on the point of equinox, the spring equinox or fall equinox, it rises in the true east. But after that, so after, say, spring equinox, it keeps on rising further to the north, meaning in the east direction, but this is now northeast direction, Ishanya, okay, every day until it goes to the farthest northern point, it meaning sun, on 21st of June. And then it starts going in the southern direction. That's why it's a Dakshinayana Bindu. And then again, it crosses right at the east on the day of fall equinox, autumnal equinox. And then it goes further south all the way to the southeast, Agneya direction on 21st of December. As far as it goes, okay? So it's kind of going like the wiper of the car, okay? With the center is that equinox, and to the extreme north or extreme south that it is allowed to go. We can talk of the seasons. We can understand what those seasons are, when they begin, when they stop, just by knowing the position of the sun. We don't need to understand position of the moon. We don't need even to know the nakshatra. This is the tropical calendar. And then now we add the sidereal aspect, the reference nakshatra frame. Now things get interesting. Okay. Now, what happens? The motion, the precession, okay, the motion of the Earth's axis is very slow, also known as motion of the equinoxes. So notice where the equinox is. Vernal equinox is here at Uttara Bhadrapada. Okay. If I take this all the way back through 26,000 years, because that is the cycle of the precession, it will also again bring you back to Uttara Bhadrapada. Okay. Because guess what? We went through a complete circle. Now what I'm going to do is show you how does the precession of the Earth's axis looks. It's very important that you take it on a shraddha, okay? That you don't worry at this time why this happens. I think if you are worrying why this happens, then you have not done your homework. But whether you have done the homework or not, it's important to focus on what is it that is happening and what are the consequences of this precession, and in what way they are relevant to understand Indian itihasa or Indian ancient Indian narratives. The Jyotish aspect, the one of the 6 Vedangas, okay? Only in that sense. If you focus on why it is happening, actually many people don't know. Actually, scientists today don't know exactly what causes the precession. There are multiple theories. There is a theory of gravitation, but there is a theory of lost star, 2 stars, and so on. You can read more about it. But the fact remains, just like Newton, brought this idea in the Western European context. He says, guys, let's not waste time on trying to figure out why motion exists. It exists. Let's think about how to make use of it. That was a very pragmatic consideration, and ancient Indian sages were absolutely pragmatic. Yes, they proposed the theories. They thought of why something might have happened, one thing or the other, whether sun is going around the earth or earth is going around the sun and so on. But they said, well, as far as we see these motions, Motion exists, just like Newton said it. Let's see how we can make use of these motion or motion of multiple celestial objects. From that, with great ingenuity, great originality, innovation, they built a very precise and accurate calendar, unparalleled in the world, unparalleled. Okay, that's what we are looking at, the Indian luni-solar calendar. Now, what I'm going to show you is I've taken you back 26,000 years in the past, and from there we are going to come to our times, 21st century. Okay, so I'm going to start this. Notice right now, when did I do that? Okay, animate. Okay. Yeah, it is starting. Okay. See, I have put the speed at very slow there. You can see the count of the year is being made here: 2, 3, 6, 3, 5, and 4, and 3, and 2. If you look at this arrow, but look at this picture. What do you see? As far as the visual astronomy is concerned, you don't see anything. There is nothing noticeable there. That is because the movement, okay, the precession of the Earth's axis, or if you want to use the word equinoxes, is very slow. Manda, ati manda. Every year only 50 arc seconds. Okay, which is to say what? It takes about 72 years before you can see a motion of 1 degree out of 360 degrees of the circle. That's why it is not very easy to notice. But if I increase the speed, you will able to notice it. I'm going to increase the speed now. Now you can see, okay, that these nakshatra as if they are moving. Okay, I can increase the speed further so that you can see in a very visible manner. So vernal equinox when we started was at Uttara Bhadrapada, and guess what now? Now that Uttara Bhadrapada has gone here. Okay. And we are going to go through the full cycle of 26,000 years. That is the time it takes for this Earth's axis to make one complete rotation. Okay. So that will take 26,000 years. And what will it do? It will bring that Uttara Bhadrapada again to the point of vernal equinox. That's tropical year. That's sidereal year. Okay. And that's basically explaining what is the precession of the Earth's axis, and also known as precession of the equinoxes. Why precession of the equinoxes? Because notice the reference point for the point of vernal equinox is changing. What is the reference point? The nakshatra. So right now it's a Hasta nakshatra. You let additional 1,000 years go by and it changes to another nakshatra like Uttara Falguni. Additional 1,000 years and it brings you to Purva Falguni. Additional 1,000 years, again I'm talking of approximate number, it brings you to nakshatra Magha. And additional 1,000 years, it brings you to nakshatra Ashlesha. Actual number is between 900 and 1,000 years. Okay, just for simplicity, I took as 1,000 years. Okay, and when it comes to our time, which is going to come very soon, we will see that this cycle, it started with vernal equinox at Uttara Bhadrapada. Okay, and when it completes the cycle, you will see again Uttara Bhadrapada is at vernal equinox. So what is happening? There are 4 consequences. Okay, and we are going to look at them. We'll stop when it comes to Uttara Bhadrapada. In fact, it will stop because the simulation only runs up to 2100. Okay, 21st century. That's it. This is where we started, guys. Okay, and this is where we stopped. That's for today in terms of simulation. Quickly, what I'm going to do is take you through 2 more slides, 3 slides, sorry. Okay, so this is this gap between a tropical year and a sidereal year. Okay. It so happens that the sidereal year, which is to say what? From the point of sun starting from a specific star with respect to a specific star, okay, just for our explanation, okay, as seen from the earth. So for the time it takes for the sun to start from that star and come back exactly to that star, such as a nakshatra yogatara, the time it takes for that exact coming to that exact position is actually 20 minutes longer than the time taken by the sun from the point of vernal equinox to next vernal equinox. Okay, so vernal equinox comes a bit faster. How much faster? Only 20 minutes faster. Not a big deal, or it appears that it's not a big deal. But that's only because we are looking at a very short period of time. But as we saw, the change is very small. 20 minutes corresponds to 50 arc second, okay, out of that 360 degree. But if you start accumulating that correction, accumulating that delta between the tropical year and the sidereal year, which is what? 20 minutes of difference every year or 50 arc second difference every year, it starts accumulating, gets bigger and bigger. And in 72 years, it comes to about 1 degree. Now 72 times 360, and that's going to give you a number which is close to 26,000 years. Within that time, actually, the point of vernal equinox will coincide with each of the 27 nakshatras and come back to where it started. That is the precession of the Earth's axis. That is the precession of the equinoxes. It has 4 key consequences. Very important, very critical that you understand them intrinsically, not just as a pep talk, not just by heart only to write these 4 answers on the exam and hope that you pass. No. If you do this, it will never help you understand the beauty, the phenomenal beauty that only gives you goosebumps if you truly understand it. Okay, only if you spend time understanding this. We are going to do this in the next part, hopefully in 1 part, maybe 2 or 3 parts, we will see. But these are the 4 consequences of the precession of the Earth's axis, precession of the equinoxes. What is number 1? Number 1 is that the pole star changes since north celestial point changes, and this is true also for the south celestial point. So pole star in the south also changes, pole star in the north also changes. I did not show that to you today. I'm going to show that to you in the next part or parts. This is one very important consequence. Okay. The second one, the nakshatra for the position of the sun at any given cardinal point, example, say spring equinox, changes. And remember, they are at practically 90-degree angles to each other. So if you know the reference point of 27 nakshatra, and if you know where is vernal equinox, you can actually mathematically go and calculate what nakshatra would be there at summer solstice, what nakshatra would be there at autumnal equinox, and what nakshatra will be there at winter solstice. Okay, because we know this arrangement is a very fixed 90-degree arrangement for the 4 cardinal points. And if we know the exact mapping of the 27 nakshatras, or you can just plot it and know at any given time what are the 4 nakshatras, which I showed today. I will show it to you again in future parts. The key takeaway there is that the nakshatra for the position of the sun at any given cardinal point changes about 1 nakshatra every 1,000 years. I was showing that to you in the demonstration for the vernal equinox, how every 1,000 years it was going to the next nakshatra, or the next nakshatra was coming to it. Remember, these are relative motions. Okay, so who goes to who is all relative. This one I already showed it to you, how that happens. Number 2. Number 1 I have not shown. Number 3, since the lunar month corresponding to any season is determined by the full moon position during that season, the lunar month corresponding to a given season also changes. Again, I have not shown this to you. I'm going to show that into the future parts. Now, the full moon position, the nakshatra at the full moon decides how we designate that lunar month. Now, the full moon position is exactly opposite of where the sun is. And remember, if the sun's nakshatra for a given cardinal point or at any given point is changing, Therefore, the season is changing. Then the opposite of that, whatever the lunar month is, the season of that lunar month is also going to change. Now, this point is not understood by my trolls. Actually, not to blame only the trolls, okay? The trolls are only idiot enough that they become vocal with their half-baked knowledge, okay, or practically zero knowledge or absolutely wrong knowledge. But this is a challenge for, I have seen many individuals, okay? But only good about those individuals, and I'll talk about the good of trolls too. The trolls create these learning opportunities, but the good about the others is that they say, I don't understand it, but I take it this on a shraddha. This must be happening. This is important point for many new readers who might be reading my books or books of Jivan Rao or works or blogs of someone like Rupa Bhatti or works of Dr. Anil Narayanan. Some things you have to take it with a shraddha. If you become suspicious about everything, suspicion is good. I mean, the what you say, the samshaya of a intellect is good, but the samshaya of a mind, which is saying, I don't know if I should trust this person, what he's saying or she is saying, then we have a problem. Okay, then that's what Krishna is explaining, the samshaya of a mind and how it leads to destruction. And a wonderful demonstration of it can be seen with what the trolls are, my trolls are doing. Okay, adnyasya ashraddha dhanasya samshayatma vinashyati. Nase jnana nase shraddha samshayi nasala pura. And therefore, if you want to truly learn, actually the process is very simple. I mean, some people will give a very fancy color to that, like a guru, and make a big dogma out of it. But the guru is such a beautiful principle. And again, Krishna gives that, so Adnyasya, Ashraddha, Dhanasya, Samshayatma, Vinashati, these are the three aspects. No knowledge, Nase Jnana, Nase Shraddha, okay, no trust, okay, Samshay Nasalapura, and full of doubts. That leads to destruction. So what is the right way to then gain the knowledge and avoid destruction? That is given in a different way. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Okay. So tad vidhi, using the proper method of learning, using the proper method of understanding anything. Pranipatena, being respectful, that shraddha aspect is there, that trust aspect is there about somebody who knows when you don't know. Pariprashnena, by asking the right question. Even asking question is a not easy task. Okay, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Okay, and through seva. Now seva is like, of course, like helping that person, doing a seva the way we understand it. But it has a broader meaning, which is to say, by truly gaining knowledge from that person, working on it, contemplating, meditating, trying to turn it from a jnana to vijnana through your personal experience, going back to that person, checking, am I doing this right? Okay, then trying to solve problems through that seva, finally the knowledge is going to come to you. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. They have understood. Try to learn from those who have truly understood it. Okay, then only your application of this knowledge would be good. The number 3 is been a nightmare for my trolls. Okay, so we are going to talk about that too. We did not discuss that today. We did discuss number 2, and there is a fourth one, which directly has implication for the phenomenal observation. As far as the Mahabharata is concerned, I would say the observation of the century, okay, of 21st century, because it was finally was demystified in 2009, is the Arundhati Vasishta observation. Okay, since north celestial point or south celestial point changes, the point in the sky, which we consider the North Pole, around which the stars rotate in their 24-hour diurnal motion. The relative orientation of a star pair, like such as Arundhati Vasishta, may change as seen from the Earth. Okay, that's what happened. That's why today, if you go at a night, look at the night sky and look at the pair of Vasishta Arundhati pair, you are going to see Vasishta is walking ahead, Arundhati is behind. Okay, so they are going to rise. Now I'm looking here in the north direction. To my right here is the north direction. I can actually see Arundhati Vasishta right from my study, okay, through the windows here on this side. And I can see the rising sun and the nakshatra from the other window, here. The house was purchased with all these consideration in mind, by the way, mind you. And we have a puja room. And if you go there, the window that goes from that side faces west, and actually a beautiful vista, in the western direction. So we can see the stars, but also sun setting throughout the year. Okay, just from that puja room. Anyways, so here they will come in the northeast direction, and depending on the time of the year, of course, and around that north pole, which is that NCP that I'm trying to say, they will go in an anti-clockwise direction and then set into the northwest direction. If you see them today, Vasishta is walking ahead, Arundhati is walking behind. Now, what about it? Well, the big deal about it is, at the time of Mahabharata, Vyasa is saying, well, that's not how they were. It was Arundhati who was walking ahead, Vasishta was behind. And based on that, actually, it's a very crucial evidence, leads to crucial experiments. Even designing crucial experiments, validating took me 15 years. But the outcome is phenomenal. Basically, it says Mahabharata war did not happen any time after 4636. When I did it, the number I had was 4508. Then Siddhartha Chabra came on the scene 10 years after. He refined it and he said, hey, it's only 4636 BCE. No, Mahabharata war is not possible anytime after 4636 BCE, or of course, before 10,248 BC. But the occurrence, the very act of Arundhati walking ahead of Vasishta during that epoch of Arundhati, and now it's not walking, that has happened again due to the precession of the Earth's axis, precession of the equinoxes. And that has to do with this point number 4. Since the north celestial point or south celestial point changes, the relative orientations of the stars there, could be a stars, could be a group of stars, could be star pairs, as seen from the Earth, their relative orientation can change. And that's exactly what led for a visual effect that Arundhati is walking ahead of Vasishta during the Mahabharata times, 5561 BCE, but actually during the epoch of Arundhati, right from 10,248 BCE all the way to 4636 BCE. Okay, so these are the 4. Now, granted, there are actually many additional consequences of the precession of the Earth's axis. Yes, there are, but based on my 30 years of experience, the key one, the prominent one, the critical one, okay, the crucial ones to understand are these 4. All right, we are going to stop here. In the next part, we will actually start looking at each of these consequences. In fact, we have already done number 2, but we will revisit it because that has a consequence implication for number 3. All right. Thank you very much. Please write your comments, whatever you want to write relative to what we discussed today, not some random comments in this video when the video comes out. And I'll see you soon in the next part. Namaskar.